Brachot habaot, ladies. I just want to have somebody in mind. This shiur was sponsored by Batsheva Glick. We want to thank her for that, and I want to have in mind, first of all of Klal Yisrael, that they should experience miracles in this month of Kislev, and to all of you who ventured out in this chilly weather to come and listen to Divrei Torah that I hope will warm your hearts. In the next few weeks, we are going to be celebrating Chanukah. And there are so many lessons that we can learn. The next time that we meet, it will be already after Chanukah. So I figured I would teach you some lessons about the significance of some of those days so that you'll know what to do as each day approaches. So we'll start by saying this. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Miberditchev Alav Shalom writes that we simply don't understand what happens when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees our menorah glaring through our windows. He explains that when the Hashmonaim entered the Bet HaMikdash, which was now disheveled and destroyed by the Greeks, they were looking for a way to begin and renew their service as they did before, to do the work of the Kohanim. We know that the Hashmonaim were from the family of Kohanim. So instead of cleaning up the mess that the Yevanim created in the Bet HaMikdash, instead of cleaning the Mizbeach and offering a Korban to Hashem and claiming this act as Chanukat HaMizbeach, they desperately searched for a small jug of oil that was still untouched and remained pure so that they could rush to light the holy menorah. Why did they specifically run to light the menorah? Assuming that by doing that, it's going to represent the renewal of the Bet Mikdash, what we would call Chanukat HaBayit, renewal house. Why did they rush to do that? So Rav Levi Yitzchak explains the following. Hashem doesn't really miss the Mizbeach or the Korbanot because he hasn't seen them for so many years. What do we say in Hebrew? Rachok me'ha'ayin, rachok me'alev. Far from the eye means it's far from the heart. Or as we would put it in layman's term in English, out of sight, out of mind. He also says that Hashem doesn't miss the songs of the Levi'im, because there's no music in the world today that resembles the splendor and the glory of the sounds that emanated from the holy Levi'im. So he doesn't really miss that either. But when Hashem sees our menorah glaring from our windows, it's the last reminder of his beloved Bet Mikdash that was destroyed so long ago. The lighting of our menorah is something that we do that's almost exactly the way it was done in the Bet HaMikdash. And when Hashem sees this, his heart, kiviyachol, breaks. So Rav Levi Yitzchak explains that the idea of seeing someone or something that you haven't seen in quite a long time, that's meant to remind you of how much you miss that thing or that person. And that's what takes place when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees our cherished menorahs in our windows. When he sees that some Jewish people out there, we'll say all the Jewish people in this generation today, who don't even understand what a Bet Mikdash really is, Hashem sees that, and yet he sees that we're still doing this precious mitzvah of lighting the menorah. We're still lighting the menorah, which represents the light that was in the Bet HaMikdash. Hashem sees this, and he's prompted to say, Oy li sheichrafti et beiti. Woe to me that I destroyed my Bet Mikdash, my house. Ladies, this is the strength and the power of our Chanukah candles. Hashem looks at them and then he yearns for what was once. And then it infuses him with the desire to bring us home in order to experience the way things were. Now, according to Sifrei Hasidut, there are many, many beautiful zgulot that when we do them, not only will they enhance our Chanukah and elevate it, but it's going to bring a lot of bracha and light into our hearts and to the world. So I want to begin with the first night, the first candle. By the way, anybody who doesn't have notes here tonight, you can log on to Torah anytime and watch the shiur and take notes so that you'll know what to do. And anybody out there also can take notes, and this way it'll help you. You'll have them on each of the nights. And I have good news. I know I've been saying it for over a year and a half, but it's finally happening. But Baruch Hashem, next week, Monday, Be'ezrat Hashem, we are launching our new website, ohelsara.com. It is an exclusive site for ladies. You can watch shiurim there. You can download newsletters over there. You could learn about every mitzvah possible on that site. It's just an exclusive site for ladies. Everything's going to be on that site. Tfilot, the mitzvah of Avrashat Chala, everything you need to know about it. Even the mitzvah of Kisui Rosh. You want to learn about it? Go online. Go to ohelsara.com. Bezat Hashem. I'm so excited about it. We've waited a long time for this, but it's finally happening. Baruch Hashem. Hodu Hashem. Anyway, on the first night of Chanukah, we light one candle. Rav Levi Yitzchak explains that this candle is the candle of all those people in the world that feel so lonely and so alone. Loneliness and aloneness can be felt, by the way, even if you're married and even if you're surrounded by children. When the first candle is lit, you should say, "Thank you, Hashem, for the light that you bring to my home. Thank you for me. I'm an individual. I might not feel alone, but I'm that single individual out there in the world." The Kedushat Levi Alav Shalom says, "Chayav Adam leharich et atzmo." A person is obligated to value himself. You have to appreciate and value your being, your entire self. You're doing two things. You're davening for the people who are alone out there in the world, whether they're married or single. And you're davening for yourself, for your state of individuality. You're thanking Hashem. And he writes that other than thanking Hashem in the morning for restoring your neshama to you, what do you say? You say, "Moda ani lefanecha melech v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati." You should also utter the words, "Moda," stop, "Ani." I thank you, Hashem, for who? For me. Thank you, Hashem, for the Ani. You gave me so many things that I could use to elevate myself. You provided me with talents. You provided me with gifts. You gave me Bina Yetera. You afford me the ability to correct my ways and bring something to the world that nobody else does the way I do. I am unique. I am special. I am individual. And the Kedushat Levi explains, on the days that you're going to do this, you'll automatically feel a tremendous sense of happiness, and it'll be easier for you to love those around you. That's the idea behind the pasuk, "V'ahavta lereacha kamocha." Love your fellow man as yourself. If you have an appreciation for who you are, it's going to be much easier for you to love somebody else. You have to see yourself as the light in the dark, the person who can make a difference in this world and bring hope to a diminishing world. So the first day of Chanukah, we light one candle for all those people who are alone and lonely, for all those people who don't love themselves enough to see how brilliantly they shine. When that first candle is lit, remember those people and daven for them that they should have the opportunity to have a blessed life, that they should be zeicha to build a home that's filled with bracha, with a husband, with children, v'chule. Try and remember the married women who don't yet have children. ones who haven't yet found their zivug, the elderly people who sit in the nursing home on this Chag waiting alone for someone to brighten their day. Try to beseech Hashem to offer these individual and lonely candles some light in their life. The Maggid of Mezrich, he writes to all the lonely people on this Chag. And he says, bless you, the only way to overcome a state of loneliness is to offer light to someone else. And he says that Yosef HaTzadik alav shalom is the perfect role model across the ages. Think about Yosef for a minute. Yosef was alone in Egypt. He was trapped in a dungeon for 12 years. He's forgotten. Nobody's there to comfort him. Nobody's there to reassure him or to even bring him a hot meal. But one day, two of Paro's servants are thrown into prison, and Yosef looks at them and he says to them, what happened to you? Why do you look so downtrodden? You want to share your troubles with me? Yosef says to them, Sapruna li, please tell me your dreams and what seems to be weighing on your heart. And so the servants began to share their frightening dreams. Chachamim tell us this is truly an amazing midah, because Yosef is in the darkness and loneliness of his own turmoil in life, and he still manages to find a way out of his own prison. How? By trying with such a sincerity to help somebody else in need. There is a beautiful story told about the Maggid of Mezrich, alav shalom. With all his learning and all his knowledge of Torah, he experienced a time in his life where he was filled with what Chachamim called a mara shchora. A mara shchora is a very, very deep and dark depression. And then he heard about a Hasidish tzaddik who lives in a distant land called the Baal Shem Tov. This tzaddik was known to cure an ailing heart. Although the Maggid of Mezrich was a Litvak, he went against the ideology of the Litvish world at that time, because the Litaim, the Lithuanians, were against Hasidut. And he decided to visit the holy Baal Shem Tov to see what this Hasid was really all about. The Maggid finally arrives at the home of the Baal Shem Tov, and he's sitting with him Friday night at the Shabbat table, anxiously awaiting to hear words of Torah. The Baal Shem Tov turns to him and he says, do you know that while riding in my wagon, my horses were so hungry that I told my wagon driver to stop, and I gave my horses something to eat? And the Maggid was surprised, and he thought, is this what the Baal Shem Tov has to share on Shabbat? That this is the great wisdom and the Torah that he wants to impart, horses and food? So he waited. During the second meal of Shabbat, the Maggid was once again waiting to hear the pearls of wisdom coming out of the mouth of the Baal Shem Tov. This time the Baal Shem Tov turned to him and he said to him, do you know that as we continued the journey with my wagon, the wagon driver was so hungry that we stopped along the way and I gave him something to eat too. This time the Maggid was shocked. But this is the great Baal Shem Tov that everybody's talking about, the Ber Shtuyot. Didn't know what to do. But on Motzei Shabbat, when the Baal Shem Tov sat with the Maggid of Mezrich, the Maggid heard the most amazing chidushim on Torah that he never heard before in his life. So he turned to the Baal Shem Tov and he says, Kvod Harav, why was it that during the course of Shabbat you spoke words that were filled with nonsense? And the Baal Shem Tov smiled and he said to him the following. He said, until you don't see that your horses are hungry and that your wagon driver is hungry, you will not be able to learn Torah with a happy disposition. You know what that means? The Baal Shem Tov meant, and he was teaching the Maggid of Mezrich, that the one thing that can take a person out of his state of darkness is to reach out and help somebody else. That's Torah. That's Torah. Each time you try to help somebody or offer words of comfort and encouragement, you're actually helping and comforting yourself. The first candle of Chanukah is filled with the power of this exact message. You have to turn to Hashem and you have to say, Hashem, when I'm struggling and I don't have the power or the energy, please give me the strength to be able to be there for someone else. Please give me the ability to give somebody else some strength, because I know that ultimately that's how I'll be able to re-energize my neshama. Help me bring light to someone else's life, because I know that that action will bring light into my life and it's going to bring light to the whole world. So, based on this thought, the first candle of Chanukah, by the way, is connected to Avraham Avinu, who was the first of our forefathers. Avraham is connected to the midah of chesed. So it's a night that's filled with chesed. And doing an act of chesed for somebody can save you from loneliness. When you bring light to somebody else's heart, your heart is filled with happiness. That's the power of day one, candle number one. We're talking about the menorah and Chanukah. Day two, candle number two. Rav Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev Alav Shalom explains that on the second night of Chanukah, you should pray, you should daven for a zivug if you haven't yet found your soulmate. And if you're married, you should daven for true Shalom Bait. The Maharal of Prague, Alav Shalom, teaches that the word shnayim, which is two, comes from the word shoneh, which means different. In a relationship, each partner has to stop expecting that the other one is the same. Quite often, Hashem will make a shidduch where the man and the woman are polar opposites. And the reason for this is to create harmony in the house and to enable each person to learn from one another and to correct their negative character traits. And even, by the way, Chachamim say, even if it seems that your husband is like you, you should know that there's a fundamental element of his neshama that's completely the opposite of you. Shnaim, two, are shonim. They are different and they are varied. You are not the same. On the second night of Chanukah, ask Hashem to see things in the light that your husband sees them in. And ask Hashem that He provide your husband with the ability to see things in the light you see them in. Because each of you possesses a great light. Rav Levi Yitzchak explains that both of these lights, the man and the woman's light, they have to shine towards Hashem. Those lights have to consist of an elevated purpose. If your flame rises up towards Hashem, you have a netiyah, you have a chukah for Hashem, and your husband's flame is ascending towards Shamayim as well, it means that you both will have the ability to see how much you really do have in common, despite the differences in your nature and character. It means you are now be'achdut. It means two flames join and create one great light. Very much like the Havdalah candle, which is made up of minimum of 2 wicks, that when you light them, it creates one flame. So your job as a spouse, especially during these festive days, is to overcome the differences between you and your husband. This is your opportunity to look at him in a different light and to appreciate his differences and to see in those differences all the positive qualities that make you into a better Jewish woman. You have the opportunity on this second day of Chanukah to enhance your relationship and to elevate your avodah towards Hashem. And that effort on your part is going to bring a lot of bracha into your home and into your life. Now, the second night of Chanukah corresponds to our second of our forefathers, Yitzchak Avinu, alam shalom. Yitzchak represents the attribute of Gvura. Gvura is strength and overcoming. True strength is in overcoming the fact that the person who's standing next to you is different from you. You need strength to be able to handle that. Don't busy yourself with pointing out differences. Instead, see in those differences the positive merits which are helping you to achieve your purpose in life. And then I have a tip for you ladies. If you're really strong, if you really have the gvura, you could actually express that to your husband. Tell him, your differences make me into a better woman. The fact that you're different from me helps me. Especially tell him that over the Chag. And even more so on the second night of Chanukah. Make sure that your husband, who is shoneh, comes home to the light on your face, to your me'or panim. Be sure to exude a feeling of happiness. Try and radiate a feeling of warmth and appreciation. Ask Hashem for peace in the home. Because the ultimate peace you could attain in the home is when you could live with your husband who is different from you and you manage to accept, love, and appreciate him. That is true Shalom Bayit, and it could create a house that's filled with the light of true Kedusha. And it could also, by the way, bring about the restoration of the ultimate Bayit. Because when we have Shalom here on earth, Hashem wants to create a definitive Shalom Bayit by redeeming us and bringing us back to the Bet HaMikdash to create the ultimate peace in the world. So your Shalom Bayit is giving Hashem the incentive to create the ultimate Shalom in his Bayit. Now, in addition, the Ben Ish Chai Alav Shalom provides us with a beautiful Zgula. He writes that when Shabbat falls out on Chanukah, and it will, it always falls out at some point, and now you have like this, you have the menorah lit, and you've got the Shabbat candles burning simultaneously. Daven to Hashem and ask him that the two flames of the Shabbat candles which are glowing on Chanukah should bring love to your home and love between the two of you. A zivug is represented by the two candles of Shabbat. And the children who are radiating the Kedusha in the home, they're represented by the burning flames of the menorah. So you two are the Shabbat candles, and the menorah are your children. And the Ben Ish Chai quotes a beautiful pasuk from Shir HaShirim. Shlomo HaMelech Alav Shalom writes, Samchuni ba'ashishot, ki cholat ahava ani. Sustain me with the flagons of wine, for I am sick with love. Chachamim explained that the word ashishot contains a double lashon of esh, ashishot, fire. And the depth of this pasuk implies that we're asking Hashem to assist us concerning these two flames, these ashishot. Why? Ki cholat avani, because I am sick with love. Says the Ben Ish Chai, every woman wants to love her husband and to be loved by him. And every Jewish mother wants her children to love Hashem and to be loved by Hashem in return. To be protected by Hashem's love and to be sustained by it. And that's what we should daven for on the second night of Chanukah, as well as on the Shabbat of Chanukah. That's day 2. Day 3, third candle. The Kedushat HaLevi explains that the third candle represents your children. One should daven for healthy and happy children that will be filled with the light of Kedusha. And of course, I'm going to let you guess. The third candle is characterized by which of our avot? Who? Yaakov Avinu, alav shalom, very good, who was the father of many children. In addition, the Khatam Sofer, alav shalom, says that crying on the third night of Chanukah is very, very important. If one brings himself to a state of tears in front of the menorah to the extent that the candles in front of him are blurry, he should know that his tefillot were accepted in Shamayim. Says the Khatam Sofer, there are many times that a woman tries to be strong and assertive and she holds back her tears. Mothers are busy trying to be happy and they're busy trying to create a positive atmosphere in the home. Most women, they don't want to hear about pain. They don't want to experience sorrow. No mother wants her child to sense that she's helpless, that she's sad. Okay, so the Khatam Sofer teaches us the following. There are times where children need to see a mother in a state of tears and helplessness. They need to see you crying at times. Why? It's a psychological mechanism devised to give the children an opportunity to do a few things. First, to protect themselves and survive in this generation of temptation and doubt. It gives the child a chance to know that he could always turn to Hashem and communicate with Him. It gives the child the understanding that the parent is crying on behalf of him, beseeching on his behalf, worried for him. There's no Jewish child in the world who doesn't have the yearning to be righteous and to help himself through difficult challenges. Now, so I'm going to tell you a story about righteous children going through difficult challenges. One of the stories of Chanukah tells of the vicious monarch Antiochus, who was determined to enforce his horrific edicts upon the Jews. Antiochus wanted to destroy our attachment to Torah. Any Jew who was caught observing the laws that he forbade would be executed immediately. What happened? There was a Jewish noblewoman named Hannah. She had 7 sons who were arrested and brought before Antiochus. Antiochus tried to convince the oldest son to abandon the Torah. But the young man responded to the king saying the following. He said to him, "Why do you bother with your long speeches, trying to inflict your abominable religion upon us? We're ready to welcome death for the sake of our holy Torah." Antiochus was so enraged by this response, he ordered that the boy's tongue, hands, and feet should be severed and thrown into a fire. All of his brothers and his mother Hannah, they were forced to witness his execution. And Antiochus was sure that after this, the other brothers would submit to his demands. But instead, the oldest brother's dying al Kiddush Hashem, his martyrdom, infused the other brothers to accept their fate and to die al Kiddush Hashem also. So each of the brothers, one by one, refused to obey the command of Antiochus or to bow down to any of his idols, and each suffered a bitter and ghastly fate. And throughout this entire ordeal, Hannah stood by her sons, giving them strength and encouragement. And at this point, only the youngest child remained. When they brought the boy to Antiochus, the king started offering him all kinds of gold and silver. Just do what I tell you to do. The boy was only 7 years old. I don't know if you can picture a 7-year-old in your mind, and his name was Yecheskel. And he displayed the same courage as his brothers. The king could not believe that such strength was coming from such a small child, and he called out to Hannah, the king, and he says to her, "Woman, Have compassion on your child. Convince him to do my will so that at least you'll have one surviving child and I'll let you live too. And Hannah pretended to agree and she asked to speak with her son. She kissed her little boy and she told him the following. She said, "My dear son, I carried you in my body for 9 months. I nursed you for 2 years, and I fed you until today. I taught you to fear Hashem and to uphold His Torah." And then she points up and she says, "See the heavens and the earth, the sea and the land, the fire, the waters, the wind, and every other creation. You should know that they were all created by Hashem's word. He created man to serve Him, and He'll reward him for his deeds. This king, this Rasha, knows that he's condemned before Hashem. He thinks that if he convinces you to bow down to the Avodah Zarah, Hashem will be lenient with him. Hashem will have mercy on him. But Hashem controls your life's breath, and He can take your neshama whenever He desires, not when the king wants." And then she told him, "If only I could see the greatness of your glorious place in the heavens, the place where you're going to be illuminated with Hashem's light, the place where I'll rejoice together with you one day." And then Hannah turned to Antiochus and she said to him, "I was not able to convince my son." Frustrated, Antiochus tried to convince the little boy. But the little boy says, "Who are you trying to overpower with your words and with your enticements? I laugh at your foolishness. I believe in the Torah and in Hashem whom you blasphemize. And you're going to remain in upon all mankind, loathsome and a 7-year-old, can you imagine? The Gemara informs us that Antiochus still offered the little boy a chance to save himself. Antiochus, and he threw it on the floor. And he asked the boy, says, "Please, just bend down and pick up the ring, and everyone will think that you bowed down to the Avodah Zarah. I will tell them that you bowed down. Just pick it up." And the little boy refused. Hannah said her goodbyes to her son, and then she told him the following. She said, "My son, when you go up to the Shamayim, tell our ancestor Avraham, tell him, Avraham, you bound only one son on the Mizbeach, but I sacrificed 7. You had Yitzchak, who was a righteous son, but you did not succeed with Ishmael. I had 7 perfectly righteous sons, 7 perfect tzaddikim who all died al Kiddush Hashem." And at that moment, Antiochus ordered that the child be tortured even more than the other brothers. And Hannah was left surrounded by the bodies of her children, of her sons. Feeling so pained by what happened, Chachamim tell us that she climbed up to the top of the roof and she threw herself and killed herself. And she joined her sons. There are some people who don't like this story. For many reasons. It's gruesome, it's tragic. Unfortunately, in our day and age, we only want to hear happy things. And some people feel that the perfection of Hannah's 7 children isn't something that we could expect from our children today. After all, such stories do not mirror this generation. Some people would rather just tell us stories of the menorah, tell us stories of the 7 branches and candles. So let me tell you another story that the Midrash discusses about another young boy named Yosef. He was known to be a Rasha, but he was the son of a tzaddik. Yosef left his learning and the Torah's ways, and he even announced, there's no God in the world. When the Romans entered the gates of Yerushalayim, this took place during the second Churban, in order to destroy the Bet HaMikdash, bless you, they were very frightened to enter. They saw Yosef and they said to him, hey boy, you go in and take all the vessels from the holy temple, because we're afraid that if we enter, something bad is going to happen to us. But since you're Jewish, you're going to be protected. And if you do as we say, the first item that you take out of the temple will grant it to you as a gift. You could keep it. Yosef entered the Bet HaMikdash and he saw the holy menorah. He was so taken aback by its splendor. Somehow, with all his might, he managed to schlep it out. And he comes out and he's so happy. He's like, this item is mine. And they said, oh, no way. This item here is too beautiful. It's too precious. Look what the Goy tells this boy. They tell him, you are such a wicked boy. This item is too holy and unsuitable for you. Could you imagine? They tell him, give us the menorah and you go back inside and you take something else. When Yosef heard these words, what we'll say his Jewish spark was lit. And he began to cry bitterly to the Shamayim. And he said to these guys, I went in once and that was bad enough. But now, how could I cause such pain to my father in Shamayim by going in a second time? How could I cause my father and my mother here on earth to cry such tears over the life that I chose? And he cried so much that his neshama left his body and he died. At that moment, a bat kol was heard in Shamayim that proclaimed, Yosef Mishita is accepted in Shamayim. This, ladies, this story is the story of our generation. Each of our children are candles. Hanerot halalu kodesh hem. These candles are holy. Ve'en lanu reshut, and we don't have the permission to become frustrated or to despair as a result of their actions, because they possess such a holy and lofty spark of ruchaniyut. As much as they seem as if they're far, they're so close. So the question is, if that's true, what is happening to these holy neshamot in our generation? Why is tzniut lacking? Why is the Shabbat being desecrated? Why are mitzvot being shunned, sometimes trampled upon? And Chachamim tell us the following, modern day Chachamim. You see, the mothers of our generation, they once belonged to the quote-unquote Beis Yaakov movement. Being a part of Bet Yaakov meant that there was a fire of spirituality that burned in our hearts. Many of us today could still remember the lessons that our teachers taught us in high school and elementary school. But in this generation, such a fire is not. The children of this generation, they're looking for the fire of Bet Yaakov. They would rather prefer the flame of Bet Yosef. You know what that is? Bet Yosef is the lehava, that flame. They want to be able to be excited, and what seems like tlahev. They're looking for inspiration. They want to feel excited about the mitzvot. They want to know why they have to be modest. What significance does Shabbat have in their generation? Now, many mothers who belong to the Bet Yaakov generation, they have a very difficult time providing answers for their children, because during their time, there were no questions asked. There were no contradictions that were posed. We simply obeyed the instructions of our teachers. Whatever they said was, Kodesh Kodashim. We obeyed the school administration. We never asked questions. We never debated. We never argued. But in this generation, following blindly is not enough. This generation wants more. It's a generation where children yearn to feel the love and excitement for the mitzvot. Otherwise, they're not going to observe them. So my question is like this, ladies. What should we tell our daughters when they ask us about tzniut or any other mitzvah and why it's important? What should we answer? There's a beautiful story that took place with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, alav shalom. At one of his farbrengens, a little girl came up to him with her father. And he asked the little girl, he said, "Do you recite the Kriyat Shema?" And she says to him, "No, I don't even know what that is." So the Rebbe gently said to her, "Well, do you want to say it now?" And the little girl said, "No," she was shy. So the Rebbe smiled and he said to her like this, he says, "Every night, I want you to take your little dolly," imagine the Rebbe talking to a little kid like this, "I want you to take your little dolly and teach her the Kriyat Shema so she won't have bad dreams, okay?" So the little girl smiled and she says, "Okay, can you tell me?" And the Rebbe patiently and slowly recited the pasuk, and he says, "Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad," and he taught her until she knew. So the father who was watching all of this, he says, "Rabbi, why did you tell my daughter to do this?" And the Rebbe said, "Because when she'll teach the doll the words, eventually she'll learn the words herself." What is this message of the Rebbe? He was talking to every mother out there. And what he was saying was the following. If we, as the mothers of this generation, if you have to look for reasons and answers to give your daughters or to give your sons when they ask about tzniut or other mitzvot, it means that you're also lacking the fervor and excitement concerning that mitzvah, because you don't have to look far to give an answer. If you're searching and, I'm not sure, give me a second, I got to look into it, it means something in you is lacking. If you cannot come up with an answer right away, mashu lo beseder. So there's much learning that you can offer yourselves, and so many areas in life that need a lot of strengthening on your part. Why? So that you will possess not only the right answers when your children ask those complicated questions, but your children need to see enthusiasm from your part when you do the mitzvot, when you're looking into them. And that's, I think, what's lacking in this generation. The parents themselves don't have the itlavut that they should for the mitzvot. The parents themselves don't answer when a kid asks a question. By the way, just as a by the way, I'm going to share something very, very deep with you. It's kedai to write this down. The Maharal of Prague, alav shalom, offers us be'emet a wonderful insight concerning tzniut. He says, Zgula, if you want to have an optimistic view of life, if you want to see everything in a positive, if you want to dispel the sadness and the darkness that you sometimes feel, cover yourself in a modest way and you're going to notice how optimistic you become. Now, what's the question? As a she'ela, what question do you have?
What does tzniut have to do with?
What is ma kesher b'chlal? What's the connection between being optimistic and covering your body in a modest way? Ma kesher b'chlal? Optimism and covering your body. Says the Maharal, listen, this ladies, this is such a deep thought. He explains beautiful by asking the following. He says, what is it that saved Tamar when she faced death at the hands of Yehuda? What saved Yosef at the day? Both of them found themselves in the most horrible of places. They were both hated by their family members, and yet they both found salvation. Why? The Maharal says it's because they were tznu'im, they were modest. When Potiphar's wife attempted to seduce Yosef, he maintained his tzniut. Tamar merited to produce the seed of Mashiach because she also upheld her tzniut. So now I still have that question. What is the connection between tzniut and dispelling the feeling of sadness inside you and feeling optimistic? What's the connection? The third night is children, what to answer them sometimes. The whole thing is chinuch, the night of the third night. The Maharal says the following. You ready? Watch this. Someone who covers himself properly and sees in his life a thick layer, a covering of darkness, such a person will understand that hidden beneath that covering of darkness is actually something that's filled with beauty and light. Okay. Someone who covers his body modestly, and at the same time he sees that in his life there is a thick layer, a covering of darkness, like terrible challenges, nisyonot, it's a covering. Such a person will understand, when he covers his body, that hidden beneath this thick layer of darkness in his life is actually something that's filled with beauty and light. Because everything that Hashem mastir, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hides, is actually filled with what? There's a purpose to it. Right? And he continues. A woman is beautiful. Beauty? תודה רבה, תזכי למצוות. ברוך אתה אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Okay. You, says the Maharal, you can display your beauty by covering it, knowing that you're the only one who truly discerns that beneath the modest clothing lies the most hidden and intense light. You hear this? That means, he says, whenever you come across the veiled circumstances of life, there's a curtain, you cannot see past that, right? The veil. You're going to understand that behind that veil, there is such a kedusha and such a beauty that resides there. Who resides there? Hashem. That's tzniut. This is true optimism. Because you know that everything is going to be okay. You know that behind that covering is what? The chesed that's waiting for you. Behind there is what? Light that's waiting for you. Behind that veil is what? Nisim that are waiting for you. Good things that are waiting to happen. It's a deep thought. So the Maharal encourages every woman to try to dress modestly. He says even for one day. Why? So that you could experience the world in a positive light. A woman who feels sad, he says, and she cannot discern the darkness, this veil in her life, and then covers her body in a modest fashion, is going to have the zchut to experience optimism and happiness in her life, and she's going to be zeichet to understand that beneath these layers, what's underneath? What's underneath? Light. Kedusha. Only good things are coming. So he says tzniut is a matter of sensitivity and it's a state of mind. It's not about the number of inches. Modesty is a characteristic that actually requires a mental exercise. That's why the Maharal suggests that we physically cover ourselves in order to dispel sadness and despair and to develop a sense of optimism. Because he says by covering yourself properly, you're going to understand that Hashem is behind that sadness and fear that you're experiencing. And when you'll feel that Hashem is there, but he's just what? He's just covered, so to speak. then you'll begin to have a more optimistic view of your life, because you know that who's behind there, hiding behind that cover? Who's there? Hashem. And that's how you'll develop a stronger awareness of He who hides behind that covering. Behind that covering is only perfection, beauty, and holiness. You with me? You got it? In addition, this is going to answer your question now. The third candle represents chinuch, education. Why? Because 2, we said, is a couple. Once they start producing children, there's at least 1, right? So we know there are 3. So 3 represents in general couple and a child. So we have to dive into Hashem for the ability, obviously, to be patient and to educate our children properly. That's day 3. Day 3 has to be filled with Chanukah Yeladim. Day 4. By the way, I'm only going to cover in this class through day 6. If you want to learn about 7 and 8, which is Holy of Holies, by the way, log on to either Torah Anytime. You don't have Torah Anytime?
No, you can't do that to us.
What can... It's too long. I know, but it's too long. That's it. 7 and 8 is an hour all by itself. I cannot give you a 2-hour shiur. You'll fall asleep on me. So we've got through 6, 7 and 8 is next week. You could log on Torah Anytime or olsara.com. It'll be already posted there. 7 and 8. It's 7 and 8. Day 4. The 4th candle, the Maharal of Prague explains, the 4th candle represents that part of you that is a typical, normal woman. Because the number 4 is symbolic of who?
For Imaot.
The Imaot. Yafeh, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. Very nice. Yafeh meod, Karen. 4 also represents a box, which is generally created by 4 walls. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what we would call Dalet Amot. Dalet Amot. That's representative of the mother, by the way. The house. She's in her Dalet Amot, waiting for the children to arrive. While on the other hand, the number 4 also represents the controversy that a woman feels within those 4 walls. What's the controversy? There are times that a woman needs to go out beyond her 4 walls, and yet when she's out, she can't wait to come back to her 4 walls. There's always this latzet, lachzor, latzet, lachzor. The word...
4 really represents the house?
The 4 walls of your house, the dalet amot of your home. The word imahot, how do we spell imahot? Aleph, mem, hey, vav, taf, right? The word imahot assists us in understanding our characteristic as women. Because in that word we find 2 words. Amot and mahut, which means essence. So there are times a woman wishes for her mahut, her essence, to explore the outside, and that the outside world should be influenced by her in some way. She wants to make a difference out there. 4 is symbolic of the woman who can nurse her baby within the confines of her 4 walls, but then go out and contribute her mahut, her essence and talents to the community outside of her dalet amot, outside of those 4 walls. And a woman is constantly struggling with this concept inside of her. It's that fine line between the bachutz and the bifnim, the outside and the inside. So on the 4th night, ask Hashem to provide you with a healthy balance so that you could be a woman of the home, you could be an akeret habayit, while fulfilling your mahut in a modest way and influencing those other women that are outside your home. That's day 4. It's your day. Your day. Day 5, the 5th candle. The 5th candle represents the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. This night has the power to bring down a lot of success in Torah learning. It's a good time to pray that your husbands and your sons should love the Torah, embrace the Torah, to become Ohavei Torah, Talmidei Chachamim. The Kedushat Halevi, Alav Shalom, says that it's a night where we can ask Hashem to create a reversal of events. What does that mean? You see, we want to see that all those who are sick should become healthy. We want all those akarot to reproduce. We want all those who don't have a husband to be blessed with a zivug. We want all those who are widows to finally not be alone. We want those who are in a poor state financially to live a comfortable life. And he explains, the Kedushat Halevi, that once the fifth candle is lit, there's now a majority of candles, and it creates more light than dark. Because there are 3 candles at this point that are still not lit. Chanukah that are lit, 3 that are not, that's the dark. And then we have 5 candles to the right of those 3 that are lit. That's all, it's the light. So this night has the ability to create a reversal of events where the light conquers the darkness. Ha'or tamid yenatzeach tachoshech. Therefore, we have to ask from Hashem that in our life we should be allowed to see something new, something bright, mashu chadash, something that shows us a reversal of events. The Steipler Gaon Alav Shalom, by the way, in Rav Chaim Kanievsky, who is, I think, his son, had a minhag on this night, which many people follow. Don't ask me why it says especially on this night. I have no clue. But they would distribute money to children and even to adults on this night. That's candle number 5. The 6th candle, 6th night. Ladies, this 6th candle represents simcha, joy. The word shesh is 6. How do we spell shesh? Shin shin. But you could also move the dot from the right to the left. Sin, it becomes. That's sas. Maze sas? Sason vesimcha. It's happiness. So 6 has the power to draw down so much happiness into your life. The 6th night is a time where the shamayim are open to you, and you should ask Hashem for simcha. This is so important to ask for, because you could give to other people, you could do a lot of chesed, but inside you might feel unhappy. A person can find his zivug, that's candle number 2, but still feel lonely, sad. You could have children, that's number 3, and still have a gloomy disposition. You could be a woman who fulfills herself, that's candle number 4, and still feel miserable. You could have Torah in your home, that's candle number 5, and still feel bad. So our actions and blessings have very little value if you are not besimcha. Therefore, daven for simcha in your life so that every moment in your life is filled with true meaning. The Rambam, Alav Shalom, urges us on that night, by the way, to try and eat a seudah, a full seudah, like Shabbat, meaning bread, wash, have meat, everything on the 6th night of Chanukah, and to invite others to attend that meal. And at this seudah, says the Rambam, stories of miracles that happened to you in your life should be told over, and people at the table should take a moment to be grateful for all the gifts and all the brachot that Hashem has bestowed upon them. And in that way, the table becomes the place where miracles can be shared and expressed, and gratitude is offered to the Borei Olam. Ladies, Chachamim say that if you spend time recounting personal miracles that happened to you, and your gratefulness to Hashem, you're going to be zeicha to see miracles that year. When we come together and we discuss the miracles of life and the wonders of Hashem, we're bringing His existence to life, and we're recognizing the truth of Torah. We are defying the ancient decree of the Greeks of not allowing Jews to study Torah, and instead here we are gathering together on the night of the 6th candle, Ner Shishi, Besimcha, expressing Torah through miraculous stories. See, the Greeks wanted to see to it that the Jews forget Hashem and that they forget the Torah. But we come together to show Hashem can take away from us the love and the recognition that we have for Hashem's greatness and for His miracles. Sharing a miraculous stories with other people uncovers the hidden meaning of life. The lesson of miracles, whether it's an open miracle or whether it's a natural miracle, like what happened with the Hashmonaim, some of those miracles were natural miracles. It's supposed to help us discover Hashem and unearth their significance. Because behind every there's a hidden light that's waiting to be revealed. Behind nature's mask, there's the face of Hashem waiting to be unveiled. Ladies, like I told you, I'm going to stop here. Candle number 7 and 8, which is day 7 and 8. Bezat Hashem is going to be on Torah Anytime the following Monday. Bezat Hashem are either Torah Anytime or ohelsarah.com. Ooh, I can't wait. Anyway, I want to wish you all, first of all, a Chag that's filled with light, with love, with Shalom Bayit. I wish for you a Chag that is going to bring miracles into your life, blessings, and afford you the ability to recognize your inner beauty, the beauty that radiates Kedusha from within. Yeh Ratzon, that every woman here and out there on Torah Anytime should experience Simcha, Yeshuot, and fulfill her mission in life with grace, with dignity, and the strength that was afforded a Bat Melech. That's what you are, you're Benot Melech. Let this year be the ultimate year of light, Bezat Hashem, the victory of light over darkness, and may we experience a true Chanukah Tabayit with the Bet HaMikdash rebuilt, with the menorah glowing through the walls of the Bet HaMikdash and illuminating the entire world. Amen Ken, Yeh Ratzon.